I used to live in one of the desert-like states of the USA. I have a lot of fond memories of being there, and I was actually going to be pretty close to moving back there recently. However, something else happened and now I'm stuck somewhere I don't want to be. Why am I bringing this up? For some reason, ever since then, I've been having these strange dreams. Feels like I'm beating the living crap out of something. So, maybe if I did this, it would try and curb things a bit. Top 10 nostalgic video games. This is a countdown about nostalgic video games. I don't feel as though I need to explain this. Okay, I will. Aside from the basic only games I've played before the specific due date and one per franchise rule, there's another thing you need to keep in mind here. I'm not just looking at how good the games are, but their overall nostalgic value, and what I thought of the games back then. And now, without any further ado, let's go back in time! First-person shooters weren't always in the form of games like Halo and Call of Duty. Before then, they existed as light rail shooters in arcades. And one of these games just so happened to be at a pizza place I used to go to. Specifically, Area 51. The plot centers around a group of military men who've traveled to, you guessed it, Area 51, in order to drive out aliens who have turned workers there into zombies. This was the goriest game I'd ever played back then, and even today where I can safely say I've played games such as No More Heroes and Mortal Kombat, it's still among the goriest games I've ever played. And the game itself is pretty freaky, the major contribution in that being the incredibly disturbing Game Over screen, which at the time was the most disturbing thing I'd ever seen. In terms of gameplay, it delivers too. It always forces you to stay on your toes and look out for enemies and power-ups, and it's not too difficult, but not too easy. Area 51 is an arcade classic, and among the best light gun rail shooters you will ever see. The King of Dragons is a game where you choose from 5 different classes of medieval characters and then slay everything from orcs to minotaurs to robots, dragon, humanoid things. 2 particular things I love about this game are A, its fantastic replay value, and B, its exceptionally entertaining co-op mode. While not exactly the most replayable game out there, it still always makes you want to insert a coin over and over again, and the co-op gameplay classes themselves are pretty good. My personal favorite is the elf, primarily because of the long range of attacks he can pull off. The storyline is nothing remarkable, to be honest. It involves the Red Dragon Gildas declaring war on humanity and sending his armies of monsters to kill everybody, and you are the only one that can stop him. Despite how admittedly cliched it is, The King of Dragons is a great game, and if you somehow find it in one of the few existing arcades these days, play it. If you thought King of Dragons was the only arcade beat-em-up on this list, you were wrong. There's still another. You're probably expecting something like Streets of Rage or Ninja Turtles. Well, Streets of Rage 2 would have been number 11 if the list was longer, and I didn't play Ninja Turtles until 2 years after the expiration date. So instead, I'm gonna give you the other game I played at that pizza place I used to go to. The Simpsons arcade game. This game is, to say the least, as strange as the TV show it's based off. Especially with its storyline, which surrounds the Simpsons interrupting a jewel robbery and having Maggie kidnapped because of it. This game is everything you'd expect from The Simpsons. Crazy, humorous, and unique. It even has unique co-op gameplay allowing you to pull off combos. Overall, while the idea of a Simpsons beat-em-up may have sounded silly at first, it definitely paid off. I've played quite a few Sonic games back then, but my favorite then, and my favorite now, is Sonic 3 and Knuckles. These games continue to use the classic 2D Sonic formula we all know and love, has some great levels, and of course, it introduced Knuckles, my favorite Sonic character ever. He may act like a jerk at the beginning of the game, but you really start to feel sorry for him when he loses his home of Angel Island. Not to mention these games have some freaking awesome music, easily the best music out of the original trilogy.
Heck, it's also rumored that Michael Jackson composed most of this game's music.
This game is awesome! However, I'm forced to put it at number 7 on this list because I didn't play it much back then. I only played it like a few months before the expiration date. Fighting games are my favorite genre of video games. They're hectic, intense, action-packed, and overall fun to play. So naturally, on a list about nostalgic games, I get to include the grandfather of all fighting games, Street Fighter II. Even though I don't think this game has aged well, I can't help but appreciate what this game represents. It marks the beginning of a genre, and a fantastic one at that. If it weren't for this game, games like Mortal Kombat, Marvel vs. Capcom, and BlazBlue probably wouldn't exist. Not to mention, I thought it was a great game back then. However, aside from not having aged that well, this game has one more critical flaw. It inspired Capcom to make unnecessary re-releases frequently.
Capcom? Why do you insist on making all these unnecessary re-releases?
We've got to have money.
Oh yeah, that's why.
Number 5 on this list is a tie. Whereas a couple other entries on this list are technically the same games, this is the only real tie on the list. This is a tie between pretty much every Namco arcade game ever made. Well, not exactly every Namco arcade game ever made. I mean, I haven't played Soul Calibur, but specifically I'm referring to back in the early days of games like Pac-Man to the arrangement games. The list of great games these guys have released in the arcades goes on and on and on. Pac-Man, Mrs. Pac-Man, Galaga, Dig Dug, Pole Position 2, Pac-Mania, Pac-Man arrangement, Dig Dug arrangement, Galaga arrangement. Namco truly are masters of the arcade. Now, Galaga arrangement is probably my favorite out of the bunch, but I have to include pretty much all these. Otherwise, it would just be some serious flame bait. What can be said about Super Mario Bros. That hasn't been said already? Whereas Street Fighter II may have founded the fighting game genre, this is the game that brought the video game industry back from the crash of 1983. And for a good reason. It's addicting, challenging, encourages exploration, and has fantastic replay value even after 27 years.
Something tells me I've done this before.
This is honestly in my top 10 favorite games ever. However, just like Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I'm forced to put this a tad lower on the list due to me not playing it that much back then. This game took the amazing gameplay and concept of the original and increased the awesomeness sevenfold. This game honestly ranks alongside Marvel vs. Capcom 2 as one of the biggest expansions to any fighting game ever. This game's new modes were awesome, such as the trophy grab mode. That made collecting all the trophies in this game a lot easier. Race to the Finish was pretty cool too. Stamina mode was also a very good mode. And let's not forget all the new characters, even if a few of them were duplicate fighters. Not to mention, I always have had a soft spot for crossover fighting games. I mean, I really liked the fact that they put Freddy Krueger in Mortal Kombat 9, and what they do with various characters in the Soul Calibur series. This is honestly in my top 3 favorite fighting games ever. And of course, it's the highest fighting game on this list. This is also another one of those games that I didn't play until pretty close to the expiration date for this list. However, I played it a lot. Melee is a fantastic game. It's what they built Brawl around, and I'm pretty sure it's what they're gonna build the next Smash Brothers around. You may have noticed the lack of RPGs on this list. Well, that's because aside from a specific series that I'm going to get to later, I didn't play any RPGs back then. But until then, Lunar Silver Star Story complete! This game has so much good stuff packed into it. The anime art style, the unique gameplay, the emotional intensity, the great story, not to mention, with a few exceptions, all the characters are likable. You feel all the pain Alex goes through. You get sick of Nash's narcissism. You wonder when Kyle and Jessica will stop bickering at each other. And that's the job of the game, to immerse you in the story.
Sorry, I was just getting a little worked up there.
Anyway, we still have one more segment to go. Number 1 on this list is a Pokemon game. It's impossible for Pokemon to avoid the most nostalgic of just about anything. Even to this day, it's still my favorite franchise ever. You're probably expecting Red and Blue to get on. Well, even I, a hardcore Pokemon fan, can admit that these games haven't held up very well. However, number 1 on this list is a game that was awesome then, is awesome now, and has perfectly withstood the test of time. Gold, Silver, and Crystal. I don't even know where to begin. Around the age of 5, my aunt sent me a Game Boy Color along with the first 2 generations of Pokemon games. Playing this about an hour after I played Red, this game had so much to discover. Not only did it have the classic Pokemon, but it also had a lot of new ones too. Not to mention, this was the very first video game I ever fully completed. And I'm not just talking about Lance. I also beat Red. Turning to Kanto after you beat Lance was pretty awesome too. And then there's the uber nostalgic music. Seriously, every last bit of this game is 100% pure classic. And let's not forget, the games hold up incredibly amazingly to this day, even if they did get remakes. And let's not forget, the remakes were magnificent on their own accord. Gold, Silver, and Crystal are the total package. Complete amounts of nostalgic value, large fun factor, and amazing memorability. And overall, they're the most nostalgic video games I've ever played.
I'm the Spirit of Vengeance, and
I've got big balls! I've got big balls!
feeling feverish all of a sudden. Yes, the mission went along successfully. They didn't put up a fight. Didn't have to shoot anybody. Thankfully, we have all the packages we need, and hopefully, the operation should be ready by next week. Hang on a second, I think somebody just broke in. I hunger. Oh no. What are you doing here? No! Last thing I remember was talking about those video games, and I don't fall asleep with my glasses on unless I black out. May as well check the news. And in local news, police are baffled by the third massacre of a convicted killer this month. However, we do know that all the people this person goes after are all convicted killers. They all had their eyes turned into this strange lava rock-like substance, and most of them had their houses burned down if they were inside those houses. Or as it develops. Did that really just happen?